Hey guys, Darren Sugiyama here. For those of you that know me, know that I'm a huge Tiger Woods fan for a variety of reasons. But one of the main reasons why I'm such a big Tiger Woods fan is his relentless pursuit of perfection. And so I talk about one of the things that Tiger did in the middle of his career, at the height of his career, that seemed so unnecessary, it seems so illogical, but this really speaks to his obsessiveness about really shooting for perfection. So I'm gonna read you a little section out of my book about Tiger Woods. Anytime you make a commitment to kill who you are in order to give birth of who you want to become, it requires going backwards initially. Tiger Woods went through a period during his 2003 to 2004 seasons where he reconstructed his entire swing with coach Hank Haney. This was the second time Tiger had elected to go through a complete swing overhaul in his career. People thought it was asinine to change his swing, for he had just won the Masters by 12 strokes. And for you non-golfers out there, that is an unbelievable feat. It just showed just how dominant Tiger was at the height of his career. And just prior to this decision, between the years 1999 and 2002, Tiger had won 35% of the PGA Tour events and 44% of the majors that he had attended. ESPN likened Tiger's decision to reinvent his swing to Michelangelo going back and attempting to re-chisel a more impressive six-pack on a statue of David. One golfing coach said, "The only thing Tiger should be changing is his route to the bank." So here you have arguably the best golfer in the history of the sport at the height of his career, where he was completely dominant. And by the way, imagine if you're a top seeded golfer and you just so happen to enter the tour during Tiger's dominant reign. It doesn't matter how good you are, you're never going to be number one because Tiger was so good. And despite how good Tiger was, at the height of his career, he decides that he's going to shoot for something even better. So he deconstructed the very swing that got him to be number one in the world. And not just number one, but a dominant number one. So, Tiger Woods' decision to embark on this journey through the minefield of a full swing reconstruction was a courageous one. Kinesiologists and neurologists would explain this process from a mechanical and physiological standpoint as creating a new set of movements, establishing a new muscle memory. But an equally important element of a total reconstruction is the mental and emotional aspect, not just the kinesthetic adjustment factors. So it goes on to talk about what Tiger went through in this full swing reconstruction. And again, he went backwards initially and significantly went backwards. So I write about this process. And in business, oftentimes we have to go backwards if we're trying to recreate ourselves or improve the business model. And it's a torturous one, especially if you have an already established, already successful business model. It takes a lot of guts to do that. So making a radical paradigm shift in an already successful approach can be confusing and emotionally traumatic. All of a sudden, you're confronted by a conflict between what has already made you successful and the new ideas that you think might be better. The first layer of confusion is that there is no absolute certainty regarding which elements should be kept versus which elements should be replaced. The second layer of confusion sparks a litany of variables to consider because it is unclear what new elements should replace the old elements that need to be replaced. But the third element of complexity is the most troublesome. There are infinite combinations of these replacement elements combined with the elements that remain. Finding the right combination where the perfect selection of elements work together in perfect synchronicity is the holy grail the perfectionist is in pursuit of. This perfection is virtually unattainable, but the perfectionist does not waver in their pursuit. As the perfectionist ventures deep down the dark rabbit hole of exploring this new and unproven way of doing things, they have no idea if their theory is actually going to work. It is purely based on a hunch. Statistically speaking, it is very possible that this tireless effort could all be in vain, putting the perfectionist in a worse position than where they originally started. For Tiger Woods, he would spend the first 2 years of his swing overhaul going backwards significantly. Now, can you imagine being at the height of dominance on the tour the way Tiger was and electing to willingly go backwards in pursuit of something even better? This risk was tremendous, but Tiger's gamble on himself paid off, and his performance between 2005 and 2008 resulted in him winning 43% of his regular PGA Tour events, up from his previous 35% winning percentage. Anyone that has the brazen courage to dive down this rabbit hole and start digging fervently with calculated abandon, not reckless abandon, but calculated abandon, is certain to face severe mental anguish of constantly questioning themselves. I know this feeling intimately. I found myself confused and frustrated during times of recalibration and innovation with no clarity and no certainty of whether or not my decisions were the right ones. This is a level of self-inflicted chaos that can literally lead the strongest of warriors to a nervous breakdown and permanent mental illness. Those that think I'm being overly dramatic about this have clearly never gone through this process themselves. I don't think most people understand just how much of a risk a person incurs by making the decision to go down this road, or how much stress this puts on a person's spirit. This is not merely hard work. This is mission impossible and can oftentimes feel like a suicide mission. It is the decision to bet all the marbles on a new unproven idea, an attempt to create something that may not even be possible, when a failure could easily make a full financial recovery impossible. In addition, this road is a one-way road, meaning you cannot retrace your steps and easily restore what you once had if the road you picked was the wrong road. You must continue on that one-way road and never attempt to find your way back home through alternate back roads that may or may not exist. It's like a ship that goes out to sea that cannot find his way back to shore. One could easily lose themselves in the abyss. On the surface, it seems like such an unnecessary and risky move by most people's standards, but that's what a perfectionist is willing to endure during their journey from being great to becoming a legend. A full recalibration of a business model or a golf swing means that you will go through a period of being completely uncalibrated. The state of being completely uncalibrated can only be accurately articulated using a phrase that rhymes with mucked up. And you know what I mean. It is a self-inflicted mental and emotional torture. But the worst part is there is no visible light at the end of this tunnel. You have to be willing to make the plunge and risk it all purely based on a hunch. As if the mechanics of the recalibration weren't complex enough, in order to get everything to click, you need to be in the zone mentally and emotionally. You need to calm your emotions and quiet your mind while standing right in the eye of the storm in order to see things clearly as everything around you appears to be falling apart. You must become a hybrid between Godzilla and Yoda, Beast and Zen Master, to even have a remote chance of making it through the storm. It is so difficult, it is nearly impossible. But nearly impossible means it is possible. And that's what a full overhaul banks on. This road is not for the weak. And so, gosh, I've been through this so many times, having to reinvent myself. The industry changes, the markets change, the people change. With change comes the need to innovate. And the true thought leaders start innovating before they're forced to innovate, before the market changes, before the people change, before the economy changes, before all these changes occur, because they anticipate that some sort of change is going to come along and punch them straight in the mouth. And it's not an easy thing to do. As we go through this whole COVID period right here, I know a lot of you are in businesses where your business models have had to completely change. And for some folks, they've had to completely get out of the industry they were in and either get into a new industry, identify a new industry, or create a new industry. So as you're going through these challenges, again, the hope I have in putting out all these videos is just to give you guys some new perspective on how to handle these very challenging times. Again, I write a lot about these challenges in my book here. You can pick this up on Amazon. Well, that's a weird thing here with this. There we go. This virtual background thing kind of gets this thing out of focus, but you can pick this up on Amazon. It's called How I Built a $37 Million Insurance Agency in Less Than 7 years. It's a book that I put out over 10 years ago, or actually almost exactly 10 years ago. It's double the length, so I've elaborated quite a bit on some of the principles that I wrote about 10 years ago. And I also talk about a lot of the new principles and new lessons I've learned over the last 10 years. So hopefully that helps. Enjoy the rest of your day here. Happy Monday, and we'll talk to you guys soon.